Hedonism is a school of thought in philosophy that regards pleasure as the highest good and ultimate aim of human life. The term hedonism comes from the Greek word hedon, which means pleasure. Hedonists argue that our actions should be primarily aimed at seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. In this comprehensive guide, we'll delve into the concept of hedonism, tracing its origins, discussing its key proponents, examining its various forms, and analyzing its ethical implications. By understanding hedonism, we can broaden our perspective on what constitutes a good life and how to live it. Origins of hedonism. Hedonism has a long history that dates back to ancient times. The Cyrenaics, a group of ancient Greek philosophers led by Aristippus of Cyrene, were among the first to propose that pleasure is the highest good. They advocated the pursuit of immediate and intense physical pleasures, such as food, drink, and sexual indulgence. The philosophy of hedonism was further developed by Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher, who had a more nuanced understanding of pleasure. Unlike the Cyrenaics, Epicurus emphasized mental pleasures over physical ones and proposed that the best life is one with the least amount of physical and mental pain. Epicurean hedonism. Epicurus, the founder of the Epicurean school of philosophy, proposed a form of hedonism that revolved around the pursuit of ataraxia, a state of tranquility and freedom from fear, and aponia, the absence of physical pain. According to Epicurus, these states constitute the highest form of pleasure. Epicurus also distinguished between different types of pleasures. He regarded natural and necessary pleasures, such as those associated with modest living and friendship, as superior to unnecessary and unnatural ones, such as excessive indulgence in food or drink. In Epicurean hedonism, the quality of pleasure is more important than the quantity. Utilitarian hedonism. In the 18th and 19th centuries, hedonism found a new expression in the utilitarianism movement, led by philosophers such as Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. Utilitarians argued that the best action is the one that maximizes overall happiness or pleasure for the greatest number of people. Bentham proposed a form of hedonism known as quantitative hedonism, which argues that the quantity of pleasure is the most important factor in moral decision-making. Mill, on the other hand, argued for qualitative hedonism, emphasizing the importance of the quality of pleasure. For Mill, higher pleasures associated with the intellect and moral sentiments are superior to lower pleasures of the body. Psychological hedonism. Psychological hedonism is a descriptive theory that contends all human actions are motivated by the desire to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This form of hedonism is often associated with thinkers such as Thomas Hobbes and Sigmund Freud. It doesn't make ethical prescriptions about how we ought to behave, but rather aims to explain why we behave as we do. Critics of psychological hedonism argue that it provides an overly simplistic explanation of human behavior. They point out that people often act for reasons other than personal pleasure, such as a sense of duty, love for others, or commitment to a cause. Nonetheless, psychological hedonism continues to influence discussions in psychology, sociology, and economics. Ethical hedonism. Ethical hedonism is the prescriptive branch of hedonism that argues we should seek to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. It is often associated with utilitarianism, but can also be traced back to Epicurus and the Cyrenaics. Ethical hedonism holds that our moral obligations should align with the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. One of the most significant critiques of ethical hedonism is that it can justify actions that are generally considered immoral, as long as they result in pleasure. For instance, it could potentially justify lying, stealing, or other unethical actions if they lead to a greater overall amount of pleasure. This has led to numerous debates about the limits and implications of ethical hedonism. Hedonism and modern life. Today, the term hedonism often carries negative connotations, associated with excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures or materialistic lifestyles. However, hedonistic philosophies, from the teachings of Epicurus to the principles of utilitarianism, offer much more nuanced perspectives on the role of pleasure in a good life. In fact, the essence of hedonism can be found in the modern emphasis on personal happiness, well-being, and self-care. The rise of positive psychology and the happiness industry reflect our ongoing interest in understanding and maximizing our own pleasure and satisfaction. Hedonism and happiness. Hedonism and the pursuit of happiness are intrinsically linked. Both philosophies highlight the importance of pleasure in human life. However, the type of pleasure and the means to achieve it can significantly differ. While some forms of hedonism advocate for the pursuit of immediate physical pleasure, others suggest a more balanced and sustainable approach to achieving lasting happiness. The understanding of happiness in hedonism can inform our contemporary quest for a happy life. It invites us to consider what truly brings us joy and satisfaction, how to balance short-term pleasures with long-term well-being, and how to navigate the ethical implications of our pursuit of pleasure. The critiques of hedonism. Despite its intuitive appeal, hedonism has faced numerous criticisms throughout history. Some argue that it promotes selfishness and neglects the importance of moral duties and virtues. Others contend that not all pleasures are good, and some pains can be valuable, challenging the central tenets of hedonism. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Friedrich Nietzsche have offered alternative visions of the good life that emphasize duty, virtue, or the affirmation of life's challenges, rather than the pursuit of pleasure. These critiques invite us to reflect critically on the role of pleasure in a good life and to consider other important elements of human flourishing. Conclusion. In conclusion, hedonism is a complex and multifaceted philosophy that centers around the pursuit of pleasure as the ultimate aim of human life. Despite its critics, it offers valuable insights into human happiness, motivation, and ethics. By exploring the various forms and implications of hedonism, we can better understand the role of pleasure in our lives and strive for a more fulfilling and balanced existence. Whether you align with hedonistic philosophies or not, taking the time to understand this perspective can enrich your understanding of what it means to lead a good life and how to approach the pursuit of happiness. After all, philosophy is about questioning, exploring, and continually reassessing our understanding of the world and our place within it.